Amazing updates, a big win for Ghana. Ghana is now banning the USA dollar. No more pricing or payment in dollars in Ghana, or rather they are using their Ghana Cedi, and the economy of Ghana is literally doing very well. Let me tell you, the Ghana Cedi is now beating the United States dollar, and it's becoming the best performing currency in the world right now, 2025, and it has literally gained about a 42% value against the United States dollar since this particular year, 2025, started. Let me tell you, this strong performance is because of the Ghana economy, whereby the economy of Ghana is literally doing very well due to oil export and gold export. I know this is one of the major moves that Ghana has literally made. It's high time for other African leaders to realize that doing away with the United States dollar and standing with their own currency is one of the best moves ever a nation can ever do. Look at now the economy of Ghana. Look at now the currency of Ghana. It's literally doing very well. And Ghana is now becoming number 2 performing nation in the world economically.
Mahama launched a direct attack on the US dollar with another one called the mandatory local transaction. And you know the United States doesn't play with their dollar. When they start the blackmail, I said, no, something is going on. I went to do research to find out what Mahama is doing, because the United States cannot just poke their finger in the face of a country like that without our president doing anything. So I have to go and research and see what Mahama is doing actually. And this is what he's doing. When you check the mandatory local transaction, right now, all gold transaction must be conducted in Ghana Cedis, no longer in dollar. And companies are required to have at least 51% Ghanaian ownership to operate in the sector. This is a direct attack on the US dollar. The second one is centralized gold purchase. Gold Board has secured agreement with 9 additional mining companies to purchase 20%. And it is supposed to be more than that, 20% of their gold output. A strategy aimed at bolstering Ghana gold reserve and to stabilize our national currency. A direct attack on the US dollar.
So Ghana government has rejected dollar as the form of payment for government projects and also contracts. From now on, you are not supposed to price using dollars and also payment using dollars. From now on, all the pricing will be done using Ghana Cedi, and also all the government project will be paid using Ghana Cedi. All the companies and also institutions, they are warned from pricing their things using dollars. They are supposed to do this using Ghana Cedi. But if they want to sell, if they want to do anything, any transaction using dollar, they are supposed to get permission from the Ghana bank. I think that the reason being is because inflation has gone down and it has been stable for the last 6 months, and also Ghana Cedi has appreciated by 42.6% against the dollar, and also by 30.3% against the British pound, and also 25.6% against the euro. They think that Ghana Cedi is doing so well, and this is the best performance they have seen in the last 60 years.
It looks like Ghana is making a lot of progress in Africa, and it is making it very, very fast. Ghana has announced that it will stop using the dollar, and in fact, it has cancelled all the payments or all the pricing in dollar form in any government institution in Ghana. So if you are a Ghanaian, you are not allowed to price your stuff in terms of dollar or even sell in terms of dollar. They have said that all the payments in Ghana are going to be made using the Ghana Cedi, the currency in Ghana. Ghana is now ditching the dollar, and it doesn't want to do anything with the dollar. It is ditching the dollar, and now it is launching another thing. Even the foreign currency is going to be exchanged in terms of cedis, not dollars. The Ghana currency is also gaining a lot of value against the dollar. Since the president of Ghana got into power, John Mahama, he has done a lot of reforms, and Ghana is developing so fast that even the United States of America, the UK, and so many Western nations are considering of coming to invest in Ghana. The United States of America has sent over 50 students to come to Ghana and study how their economy is growing, because the Ghana economy is growing very, very fast.
Is the American dollar getting banned in Ghana? It seems that's the way it's going to be, because right now Ghana is saying enough is enough. Enough with the American dollar. Right now you cannot use the American dollar in Ghana. Payment for government projects and contracts, all of them, they are using the Ghana Cedi. No more using the American dollar. Institutions have been warned against pricing using the American dollar. Any person or institution or even company that wants to use the American dollar, well, first of all, they need permission from Ghana Bank. So this is very, very serious. I was wondering, was this the right decision? Well, I looked at the number. As they say, numbers don't lie, and the numbers are saying this: the Ghana Cedi appreciated by 42.6% against the American dollar. So that's right. And also, in fact, they appreciated against the British pound by 30.3%, and not just that, against the euro 25.6%. So yes, that was the right move for Ghana to do. They need to keep doing that. Exactly. My question is, will this harm Ghana in the long run? Because it seems like they're making a powerful enemy, that is America.
In foreign currency. Right, Honorable Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker. To curb this unfortunate development, President John Dramani Mahama has directed that beginning today, 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by government, irrespective of source of funding, should be denominated in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker, we also want to use this opportunity to remind the public that per the Foreign Exchange Act 2006 at 723, companies, institutions, and individuals are prohibited from pricing, advertising, receipting, or making payment for goods and services in foreign currencies in Ghana without prior written approval from the Bank of Ghana.
Welcome back to Gist9. Ghana is making headlines across Africa and beyond with a daring decision to drastically reduce its reliance on the US dollar for trade and major economic transactions. Now, this move has sparked conversations, it has raised eyebrows and inspired hope among Pan-Africanists who believe that the continent must take bold steps to achieve true economic independence. But the big question remains, is this a smart move, or do you think it's a gamble that could backfire? Why do you think Ghana is saying no to dollars? Now, for decades, African economies have been heavily dependent on the US dollar. Whether it's paying for imports, servicing debts, or setting exchange rates, the dollar has dominated. This dependence often makes African nations vulnerable to fluctuations in the global currency markets and US monetary policies, which can affect everything from fuel prices to inflation rates overnight. And Ghana's decision signals a desire to take control of its own financial destiny. By reducing dollar dependency, the country hopes to strengthen its local currency, now the Ghanaian Cedi, and promotes alternative trading methods. This could mean doing more business using local currencies within Africa, or even exploring digital currencies backed by African resources. Now, supporters of this policy that see it as a courageous stand against economic neocolonialism. For years, critics have argued that Africans' reliance on foreign currencies like the dollar and euros keeps the continent economically dependent on Western powers, which is not good. Ghana's bold move challenges this status quo and also sends a strong message. Africa can, and they must take charge of its own wealth. Now, this step could also inspire other African nations to rethink their economic strategies. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa may be watching closely to see if Ghana can set a precedent for breaking free from dollar dominance. Now, let's be honest, this is not without risk. The US dollar is still the world's most traded currency, as we all know, which is used in over 80% of international transactions. So moving away from it too quickly, it could lead to serious short-term shocks. Ghana still imports large amounts of goods, from petroleum products to machinery, and many of these transactions are dollar-based. If the country can't find stable alternatives, prices could rise, inflation could worsen, and the local economy could also feel the pinch. Now, another concern we have here is investor confidence. International investors often prefer dollar in a globally recognized currency like the dollar. A sudden shift away from it could also make Ghana seem like a risky place to invest. At least in the short term, the country will need to provide strong assurance assurances that this move will not destabilize its markets. And to make this work, what do you think? For me, I think Ghana may need to take several strategic steps. First, it must strengthen regional trade agreements, especially within ECOWAS states. Trading more with neighboring countries in local currency, it could offset the need for dollars. Then secondly, I feel Ghana may need to stock up on foreign reserves of alternative currencies like the Chinese yuan, or even explore the use of commodities like gold to back its trade. And there's also a Pan-African angle to this. If more African countries join Ghana in reducing their reliance on the dollar, the continent could create a stronger collective bargaining position in global trade. Some have suggested the introduction of a continental currency, or at least a stronger framework for currency swaps between African nations. So, is Ghana's decision a smart move? Or, for me, I think it's certainly a bold vision of financial independence and self-determination, but it's also a risky gamble that could test the reliance of Ghana's economy in the months to come. So success will depend on careful planning, strong leadership, and the support of other African nations which are willing to walk the same path. So one thing is clear. Ghana has sparked an important conversation about Africa's economic future. Should the continent keep playing by rules set by foreign powers, or should it take bold steps to reclaim its wealth and destiny? What do you think? Should more African countries follow Ghana's lead and say no to dollar dependency, or should they proceed with caution to avoid economic backlash? Well, let me know what you think in the comment section. But before then, please kindly like, share, and subscribe.
Central bank digital currencies and regional clearing houses are being tested. Some African banks are already experimenting with cross-border payments in local currencies, a trend that should be promoted. This is the future. Bitcoin is often raised as an example. While volatile, it proves that currencies outside Western control can circulate globally. But we must not merely be spectators. Africa must design its own platforms. SWIFT is a colonial chokehold. Our own systems must be the arteries of Africa's future. If they can sanction our banks, we must build our own banks. If they can switch off SWIFT, we must switch on Africa. Some lessons for Africa's common currencies. What lessons can Africa learn from BRICS? The first is intra-African trade. The African continental free trade area is meaningless if 80% of our trade is settled in foreign currencies. A common African currency would reduce costs, expand markets, and build true African economic independence. Gaddafi's legacy. Muammar Gaddafi dreamed of a gold-backed African diner. He was assassinated not for oppressing his people, but because he threatened dollar supremacy. His blood is on the hands of those who fear African freedom. His dream must therefore be resuscitated one day. Sovereignty is another lesson. A common currency is not just economic, it is political. It would make Africa a negotiating bloc of 1.4 billion people, not just 54 vulnerable states begging for trade crumbs. The Sahel Alliance, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are showing Africa that sovereignty is not a slogan. It is possible. Their rejection of neocolonialism is proof that Africans are willing to sacrifice everything for their freedom. Thank you. One Africa, one currency, one destiny. One Africa, one currency, one destiny. Let me repeat. One Africa, one currency, one destiny. That's the way to go, fellow Africans. Let me move on to bilateral relations and commendation to Ghana. Since the establishment of a formal diplomatic ties, South Africa and Ghana have signed over 24 bilateral agreements and memoranda of understanding, covering critical areas such as trade, investment protection, double taxation, defense, transport, agriculture, ICT, arts and culture, and most recently, a visa waiver agreement for ordinary passport holders. These are some of the issues that are covered by the bilateral agreements between the two countries. In 2019, this cooperation was further elevated to the Binational Commission, commonly known as the BNC, at the presidential level, thereby ensuring structured follow-up and accountability. The significance of these agreements lies not merely in their signing, but in their effective implementation as they open pathways for deeper economic integration, technological exchange, cultural cooperation, and people-to-people connectivity. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party recognizes that Africa's liberation is incomplete without strong intra-African solidarity and will therefore continue to agitate for a robust and action-oriented diplomatic relations between South Africa and Ghana, ensuring that these instruments serve the real needs of our people, advance Pan-African unity, and resist external manipulation of our continental partnerships. I must pause here to commend Ghana for its bold step in backing Morocco's autonomy plan over the separatist agenda in the Western Sahara. Some may disagree, but I say Africa must not be divided for the convenience of the outsiders. The era of balkanizing Africa to serve foreign agendas is over. By prioritizing stability and integration, Ghana has once again placed itself at the forefront of Pan-African leadership. The Morocco Atlantic Initiative, launched in November 2013, aims to connect the landlocked Sahel to the Atlantic Ocean through infrastructure development and regional integration. This initiative, spearheaded by Morocco, involves investments in ports, roads, and railways to facilitate trade and economic growth for countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad. The initiative also seeks to foster cooperation in energy, security, and other areas. The initiative aims to transform the economies of Sahel countries by providing them with access to Atlantic and fostering regional integration. This regional integration must be the economic, trade, and currency bridge into BRICS, therefore northern and southern trade routes. That's what is needed. The days of Africa dancing to the drums are over. We shall beat our own drum now. Thank you. Umkhonto weSizwe Party, the future of South Africa. Umkhonto weSizwe Party's manifesto, which we refer to as the People's Mandate, outlines 8 pillars which serve as the foundation for our vision as a political party and policy proposals. Allow me to quickly go through them. The first is reclaiming our dignity. This pillar focuses on restoring the self-respect and pride of South African and the African people throughout the continent. The second pillar is reclaiming land and mineral resources. This pillar addresses the issue of land ownership and control over natural resources, advocating for policies that redistribute land and its resources. The third pillar relates to reclaiming people's power. The pillar emphasizes empowering citizens and giving them a greater say in the decision-making processes. The fourth pillar, reclaiming the economy. The pillar aims to address economic inequality and promote inclusive growth. The fifth pillar, building human capital and technological capabilities. This focuses on investing in education because we believe that there is no self-respecting country which does not invest in education. It also focuses on skills development and technological advances. Technological advancements, I beg your pardon. The sixth pillar, reclaiming spaces. This addresses issues related to urban development, infrastructure, and access to basic services. The seventh pillar being reclaiming safety and security. This pillar focuses on improving
in its outlook. The recent round of tariffs and retaliatory tariffs have spooked world trade and the global economy. The full effects of these trade wars will have ripple effects on global growth and prosperity for years to come. We must form a coalition of the willing to create alternative markets for sustainable global growth. Africa is open for business and is the next frontier for trade and investment, with a population of 1.4 billion people and a fast-growing middle class. Africa has the potential, with the African Continental Free Trade Area, to become a significant player in the global economy. While partnerships such as what we are forging here in Ticket 9 are important, a lot of responsibility rests on the shoulders of African leaders to create an environment that is conducive to trade and investment. We wish to partner with any nation of the world on a basis of win-win, but let us not kid ourselves. Trade and investment will not come to Africa merely because we wish it. We must undertake the hard but necessary reforms to make Africa an attractive destination for investment. And that is why we must silence the guns and stop the fighting. That is why we must reform our economies and make them more stable and predictable. And it is why we must reform our governance and make public service accountable and free of corruption. We thank Japan for its unconditional support for African development.
Another 1.4 billion. 2027, no more another $1.4 billion. 2028, no more another. Nechesikana kufuwa do dijamono. Muba kwa numo tutu amana kabia $2 billion. Because sana kufuwa ba bede international reserves. Yedi mamu 2009 to 2008 no more tutu sikano asrene abasa ama sikana sa nanado baye and wabe bede international reserves through the domestic gold purchase program and the gold for oil. Ama international reserve regina mubedu de makofa $1.4 billion. And so dollar shoto Monday me kan ya moti YouTube ni Facebook attack me and not a good tafo Ghana dadifo kuo anye abronya me na wan ko influence so mo say mo my press conference in support to me Dabi because media houses no binum wo ha and they stop omo nka aban mu asem because ho na omo didi. Most of the media houses no enka dollar shortage because ya ka tire o mo say some ka dollar shortage na egu aban anim ase but more for $1.4 billion after international reserves into dollar ashoto. but yaka media houses no bi yemfa nye topic that producers yaka omano atum anti topics ba enko ba bia na nka enya nwanwa enya mo nwanwa se guta Ghana dwadifo kuo Ghana Traders Union aye press conference enra ene media.
Good news. Ghanaian president just say no to dollar. Ghanaian president John Mahama say you no need dollar before you go do business again for Ghana. He say anybody when he want do business from now needs to use Ghana Cedis. Like this, Ghana Cedis go dey get value. Because this issue of dollar don't drive so many investors come out. And it don't cause a lot of problem for Africa. So you no need to come dey wait for America to approve their dollar for you before you go do business. Una see and say many Africans don't they wake up. They don't they agree to wetin Ibrahim Traore talk. They don't discover say these Westerners they use them in different way. Because when you they use dollar they do business, not be free.
Good morning. Just two few quick things. One is about the almighty dollar. If you look at right now, there is a very big scarcity of dollars in the market. Traders are crying. People are crying. The commercial banks say they don't have. In fact, the amount of money, the dollars that they applied for, they didn't even get half of it. It's not there. As a result, we know what is happening. The rate that the commercial banks quote is not the rate that you and I get. So the Bank of Ghana has their rate, commercial banks have their rate, but the rate that ordinary people get is what Aboche gives them. Aboche has the rate. Because something happened. A lot of economists, a lot of financial analysts, and a lot of policy think tanks have been warning that the state of the dollar to the cedi is artificial. It's being man-managed from the Bank of Ghana. But the Bank of Ghana has always insisted that no. Policy think tanks like the Africa Policy Lens have said this, they said no. The IMF and the World Bank has been warning that look, you are interfering too much in that market. And because of the interference you are doing, you are just literally you are pumping a lot of dollars. So again, it's not organic. In their latest report, the IMF and the World Bank actually made that point. And now you are seeing that shortage with the dollar, the GUTA, the Chamber of Banks, everybody, they all come out to make this point clear. So it's not more an idea of whether or not. The fact remains that there are no dollars.
Two things. You've mentioned rate. You've as well mentioned accessibility.
Yes.
Which one is the main challenge?
Both of them are. Both of them
rate
are.
And
yes,
accessibility.
Because the rate, we've said this, all governments have failed to.
The recent appreciation in the value of the cedi is one that we have kept watching as the cedi started to strengthen and the dollar depreciated. With our A-level economics, we all know that it's a balance between imports and exports. What it means is that it makes your imports cheaper and your exports more expensive. And so there must be a fair balance to try and achieve the true value of the cedi. Some people say, oh, it will come down to 4, but of course we know the true value of the cedi is not 4, and if it went as far down as 4, it will kill all your export businesses. And so myself, the governor, and the finance minister met and discussed it, and they think that the real value of the cedi is anywhere between 10 and 12. Luckily, the forex auction has brought it to just above 10, and it appears to have stabilized there. So I think that going forward, anything between 10, 11, and 12 as a band where the cedi operates will be a fair value, both to encourage our exports, but at the same time not make imports so cheap that importers will flood our markets with toothpicks and biscuits and coconut and all those kinds of things. And so it's a challenge to our exporters to take advantage of the cedi's appreciation, because then the advantage you also have is raw materials can be cheaper. Fuel has gone down, so transporting your products and all that will be cheaper. Port charges will go down, and so it has incentives for you. and at the same time it has incentives for importers. But I'm asking the importers not to take advantage of it and flood us with all the, Nkatia burger and things that they bring from other countries. Let's try on the import side to import substitutes and produce as many of the products that we bring from outside. Let's produce them here. And at the same time, let's produce more products that people demand outside so that we have a better balance in terms of our economic growth.